welcome back to the Motatapu podcast for 2026. I'm Richard Greer, team captain of Team CPNZ and hosting this podcast on behalf of the Motatapu. At Team CPNZ, we don't just provide training plans and feedback, we provide the insurance policy for your epic day out. We want you to finish with a smile, not just a survival story. This year, I'm putting my money where my mouth is and running the marathon. So let's make sure that this is your best Motatapu yet. And to do that on the podcast, we've got three great guests today. We're going to talk to PaulA Rule, mental skills coach, about performing to your potential. And to do this, she talks through some ideas of how we can manage the start line nerves, excitement, to make sure that you can pace yourself well and have a great day out. So this is stuff that you can do now, no matter what training you've done, no matter what plans you've got. PaulA can make a difference to your performance in the chat that we have today. Also going to speak to Lawrence from UDC, a longtime partner of Motatapu, and what it means to be involved for them and for this iconic event, and what event Lawrence is turning up to do. And then also going to talk to Edward Eaton, who was second in last year's marathon, and what his goals are for turning up again this year. So it's going to be an awesome podcast, so strap yourself in and let's bring PaulA onto the show. Right, PaulA Rule, thank you so much for joining us. It's really exciting to have a chat to you today. I'm always keen to discuss mental skills, sports psych stuff. How do we manage ourselves to perform to our best on race day? But also, I guess a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today does also transfer to our day-to-day, our work life, and all those sorts of things as well. But thank you so much for joining us. It's awesome for you to take the time out to have a chat.
Pleasure to be here.
Good stuff. So just to get started, so I want to talk about two kind of key topics today. I want to talk about, I guess, nerves and anxiety and how to manage that, and then also how to make sure that you perform to your potential and not get too fired up and excited amongst that. We talk about the red mist when all of a sudden it gets too much for us. So they are the two topics I want to sort of touch on today. But let's get underway with that nerves and anxiety side of things. How do we manage that in training and obviously in race day? And as I talk about that, a race day, it's a race, but it's an event for most of us. There's a start line, there's a timing chip on our bike, there's a start line, there's a finish line, there's lots of other people, there's loud music, there's excitement, there's all that stuff that goes on. And generally we want to do our best. So do you want to sort of help us sort of explain that, I guess, and how we can make sure that we make the most of those nerves and it doesn't sort of overcome and become too much for us?
Yeah, I think a real key point there is knowing what your ideal performance environment looks like, because that will look different for different people. Some people want to get, want to be a little bit more chilled. Some will want a little bit more, not attention, but they love the adrenaline and that fuels them on. Mm-hmm. But knowing yourself, I think, is a really big piece in there as well. But the reality is it's a big race. You would have been training for it for a while. It's really natural to have some nerves and some anxiety that's going to go on there. What we don't want is for it to go over the top and be detrimental to our performance. And the most effective way of achieving that is by stabilizing the nervous system. Once we realize that we're going beyond that point of productive into unproductive kind of behaviors or emotions. That kind of makes sense.
That sounds challenging to stabilize the nervous system. Tell me about that when we need to.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is around the state that we find ourselves in and in the story that we tell ourselves when we're in that state. Because really, emotions are just emotions. They're not the bad things. It's the story that we tell ourselves around that feeling that we're feeling. So, like nerves and excitement are only a little click away from each other. So we can, with practice, reframe that feeling of, oh my God, I'm so nervous and I'm so worked up, to be like, is this just my body's way of telling me I'm good to go? Like, and I've done all the training and I'm excited to get started. And when we keep telling ourselves that story, the nervous system will start to calm down, because when it gets worked up, it goes into like that fight, flight, and it kind of thinks death is imminent, right? So we have to be like, it's not. I know that you think that, but actually we're going to survive this. It's going to be hard, but we're going to be fine.
Yes.
And then it's, it's how do you bring yourself down, right? So whether it be some breathing techniques, whether it be putting some chilled music on, Some people need to be around other people as like a distraction. Other people like to be off in their own space in a little bit of a quiet zone. So the key there is kind of knowing what you need. Yeah.
Taking it back a step to training, and sometimes, like, when things mean a lot to us, we can get quite worked up about them, can't we? And we're and probably in that point that we've trained hard for these things and prepared well, and it can sometimes all just become a bit much.
Yeah.
Especially when we're like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks out, like it's close enough that it's becoming real, but it's still far enough out that I need to do some more for it. I'm not just there just yet. And am I up for this? Can I actually achieve this thing that I'm trying to do? How do I manage it?
Yeah, I think if you're questioning that, I think the saying around the body achieves what the mind believes. So being really intentional with what we're feeding our mind so that transfers to our body as well. But I also think by the time you get to race day, it's actually about releasing any expectations that you have on what you expect of that race in that moment.
Yeah.
In that race, you want to be as happy and as calm as you possibly can. You don't want to be taking in stress or tension, because we can hold those in our muscles, and that's not really congruent with a nice fluid race, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm working with athletes, I always like put as much pressure on yourself as you want during the trainings, like push as hard as you can. And then when it comes to actual race day or that day of competition, you leave all your expectations in the car park. Right? You could actually do a visualize activity around that, where you leave what your expectations look like, you leave them there, and you can come back and pick them up later, but it's knowing that they don't do anything really to help you for that next how many hours you're going to be racing for.
Yeah, expectations just ruin the fun factor, don't they? And they, again, you end up pushing too hard when you probably shouldn't, especially early on.
Yeah, and that's that controlling of our state there as well, like recognizing that we're getting worked up, our heart rates have increased, maybe we're kind of getting those clammy palms, recognizing that and saying I need to just kind of bring myself down a little bit and chill out. And that's, I think those nerves and anxiety are all linked to our expectations.
Yeah. And goals as part of that as well. The goals that we set for ourselves is a key part of that. How do we manage that as well as part of that whole point?
Yeah, I think it's really natural to set your goal, like whether that be a certain time that you want or a place that you want. But once that goal is set, you almost need to let that go as well, and then backtrack and work on the process to get there. So what are the things that you actually need to do along the way that will give you the best chance of achieving that goal, knowing that goal, to a degree, there'll be lots of different elements that are outside of your control. And if we get too on that control factor, and then if something goes wrong or we get caught up in a bunch or anything like that, it's like, it's okay. And I guess if you're doing longer races too, the joy there is there's always opportunity coming up to make that time back, or to swing the pendulum back the other way, or just move that needle one more. But I think it's really good to have like milestones or times that you want to achieve, but they can't be the thing that defines you. Because if you don't hit the first one, you can't be derailed for the rest of the race. It's just like, oh well, so what now? What? Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times we do that, like to have some of those targets. It's also important for nutrition as well, just to make sure that I'm in those zones. But yeah, it does get really tricky when you end up maybe off the pace of what you're expecting to do. And then how do I exactly, that's important because that derails the fun factor. But how do I refocus on that? Do I just add half an hour onto all of my times that I was probably expecting to be at those certain zones? Or do I not even worry about that? It's more about how am I moving through the terrain? Yeah,
it's just that. And it's going back to the thing that's going to get you closer to that goal during that race, and focusing on those things, because there's so many variations that you just can't control. So there's no saying, okay, I need to like double down and make up that time in the next part, because what if you don't do that? And then it becomes a real mental game. And you're inside your head, and there's probably a bit of like self-sabotaging going on. And it's, we have to have that. And in that moment, we have to have that debate. Like, our internal thoughts is just really opportunities for debate. Rather than just having it as it is, it's got to be an opportunity to debate.
Yes. To see, should I push on? Should I? I guess it's around going back to as you said, the process around what's your technique like? How are you pedaling your bike? How are you running? How are you moving? What's my nutrition been? What's my posture like? How am I holding myself together? All those sort of things. They're the things that are going to actually help you move well through that terrain and be as efficient as you can, aren't they?
Exactly. They're your processes, and they're the things that are in your control that you should be focusing on. And if we know that if we do all of those things right, we should probably, in an ideal world, hit that kind of bit of flow state, and it becomes easy again.
Yes. And becomes fun again, because we're focusing on the things we should be focusing on, the lines that we're taking and all that sort of stuff. And maybe even making sure we don't lose focus, but cheering on a few others around us and having a bit of a chat, etc. as well.
Yeah, like distractions are really good thing, like chatting to somebody else, or even having a little bit of like a mantra or affirmations that are flowing through your head that is just like, I can do this, or sometimes it could be a simple, this too shall pass.
Yep.
It's a real slog, it's really hard, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. You can, and it'll pass. You just have to keep one foot in front of the other. And the same when it's going really well, that too will pass, and you'll go down. It's the whole valleys, right? You've got to go through the valley of suck before you get to the mountain of awesome.
There we go. I haven't heard that one before. That's good. One thing I like to ask myself is, can I be here? And that goes back to that same thing as if you can, that's great. Let's keep hanging out there. But often we pace ourselves too much or think too much about the future rather than just being here right now. And if we're saying, can we, if we can't, we'll just slow down a little bit and let's sort of reassess. I think that's sort of on the same lines of what you're just saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it very much is. What just distract that brain. Like it can be our best friend, but also our worst enemy.
Yeah, nice. Just going back to that question around the training, like we're a month out or so, like we're leading into the event. I'm getting pretty, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this. I'm sort of starting to have some self-doubt on whether this was a good idea to enter myself in the first place, or maybe someone else has entered me and I've turned up and I have to do this. How do I deal with that?
I think that's a real rough one if someone else has entered you and then you're stuck. That happens.
Yep. I guess that's around expectation too, isn't it? Like, because maybe like it's I should be able to beat this person. I want to try and make sure that I perform at this level, and it can get pretty nerve-wracking with it. So yeah, it's that stuff. How do I manage that in the build-up?
I think being really clear on why you're doing it for, or even just if we can redefine what success looks like for us for that race. And sometimes we can set a goal and then circumstances change, or there might be injury or nutrition, or you get sick the week before, and yet what I see often is people will try to stick with that same goal.
Yes.
And they really are setting themselves up to be disappointed, because it's all good to set that goal when everything is going to go your way, but life happens, right? Yes. And the environment and the weather and our nutrition and illness and all that kind of stuff. And we can do things to try to minimize those. But if things change, we also need to change our expectation or our goal there as well. But, like if you're struggling with motivation a month prior, but you are committed to doing it, my question would be, is it really about motivation or is it more about discipline? Right? You can't be motivated all the time. Mm-hmm. You do need to just be disciplined to still do the work, so you give yourself the best opportunity to get the outcome you want.
Yes, nice. So we've just got to, as you say, focus on why you want to do it. What are my goals? What do I want to get out of it for me? And make sure that doesn't get any bigger. Focus on me. Stay in your own lane. Don't worry about anyone else, and it'll be what it is.
And I think it's when we do events like that, I am assuming that majority of people are competitive people. So we want to do our best, and it's really easy to get suckered into someone else's pace. And so a part of that is having the control, like, I know what my plan is and I'm going to stick to that. But also, if we're feeling good in ourselves, like, push a little bit harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, just a bit of that fluidity, I think, and a bit of that flow.
You've just answered my next question, where I talked about right at the start, is about how do we deal with the red mist. And the red mist is, like, it's a good thing, but sometimes we tell ourselves, no, I'm just going to have a chill ride. It's going to be fun. I'm just going to cruise along here with some friends. And then all of a sudden it happens. Then all of a sudden you're racing this person, racing that person. And it happened in a race up north, actually. I was doing a mountain bike race. It was a shorter version of what I've normally done, and I ended up falling off 3 times. I hit a tree, 2 different trees, and went over handlebars down a 4-wheel drive track just because I got too fired up. Like, I needed to just chill out and relax. Like, how do we sort of make sure that we manage that side of things within our performance?
The big piece there is recognizing when it's happening, like the build up to it, rather than waiting for it to actually just happen. Because once that you get that emotional surge, it's quite hard to pull it back.
Yeah.
If we can put ourselves in those situations during our trainings, we can figure out what we need. But there's no doubt that come competition or that come that event, there's extra stakes on the line that we put on ourselves as competitive people.
Yeah.
But you're recognizing, what does that look like? What is the potential of that red mist, or we come sometimes call it the red brain, like it's starting to creep closer. What do I need to do to turn that back down a little bit? So, like, I really like the physiological side, where you 2 inhales and 1 exhale, that just kind of reduces and minimizes the nervous system. Not minimizes, stabilizes the nervous system. It could just be, again, it's okay, I'm having fun.
Let's go. I think
it's just all that stuff that's going on internally.
Yeah. I think it's also potentially part of that sort of simulation stuff, isn't it? So, I mean, if you've had trouble with going over the handlebars and landing in a fence or whatever, etc., like, you need to go and ride with some mates beforehand. So you're kind of almost practicing that, the competitiveness and how do I deal with it, rather than sort of turning up for the first time for 3 months on race day.
Yeah. And if you can't do that physically, I would definitely recommend doing that mentally as well. Like, going through, and it's quality over quantity in terms of that imagery or visualization. And you don't have to know exactly what it's going to look like, but you can replicate it in your mind in terms of, really dial into the smell, all the different senses that go along with that as well. But it's also, don't expect it to be easy. We know it's going to be hard. And then it'd be like, oh, this is what I was expecting. We're good.
And that's why sitting at the end, reflecting on your day when it has been hard, but you've made it and you've succeeded and you've got there, and maybe it hasn't been entirely without issues. There could be flat tires, there could be sort of rolled ankles here and there, but you've made it to the finish line. That's the key thing, isn't it? The harder it is, the more proud of your effort you can be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, like, people don't get into adventure racing because it's easy, right? It's the challenge, isn't it? You actually do this. It's the challenge. And I think that's keeping that front and center as well. And it comes into, like, why are you doing this? Like, is it for camaraderie? Is it about, moving your body? And, or is it, some people might just be about, I want to push myself and see what I can do. Others, it could be really different reasons, but don't get suckered into other people's reasons for why you're doing it.
Perfect. Hey, anything else to wrap that up before I turn it off, Paula?
No, I think that's probably it. Any other questions from you or any?
No, I think it's good. I think I love catching up with you. Always learn a few things or remind me of a few things of why we're doing this and how we sort of look to execute that. I think that breathing thing is really good as well, just to sort of especially settle those nerves on the start line and making sure that you decrease those expectations so you can just focus on how you're doing it. I think that's super key. Yeah,
the expectation is just such a big one. Like, I know that we care, we just don't want to care as much in that moment. Care all the way during your trainings,
Yeah.
care a little bit less when you come to perform, because it is, like consistently good performance is always about being happy and calm. Like that's not about being chilled or like too relaxed that you're, almost going backwards. It's just about knowing you've done that's a big piece there, like in your training, knowing that you've done the work so you can have the confidence when you step onto that line. And if things have happened and when you're stepping up to that line, your lead up hasn't been as good as you had wanted it to be, give yourself permission to cut yourself some slack.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Read what you want out of, that race, and then just go out there and do it. Like, you can't change anything now. You might as well just enjoy it.
Yeah, perfect. Well done. That's excellent. Thanks for joining us, Paula, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Cool. Thanks so much, Richard.
Cool. Right, team, I'm here with Lawrence from UDC Finance. Lawrence, how are you getting on today?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Richard. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good to catch up. UDC's been involved with the Motatapu, it feels like forever from my perspective, but how long have you guys actually been partnering with the Motatapu?
It's a long time. I think 2011 was our first time we joined the team. So it's been fantastic for us to be part of it. I think we've had well over 1,000 customers that we've hosted. Over 500 have actually participated in either the mountain biking or the running. So really close to our hearts and something our customers and internal staff look forward to each year.
Yeah, good stuff. So why the Motatapu? Because obviously you guys are big business in terms of what you do. Actually, maybe just jump it back a step. What do you actually do? It's probably a good question.
We've got money, lots of money to lend. So we are the largest asset financier in New Zealand. So we fund almost every single car brand you can think of, but trucks, diggers, helicopters, anything that's got wheels or tracks on it. That's what UDC finances.
Yeah, good stuff. So you're based, whereabouts are you based in New Zealand?
I'm based in Auckland, but we've got reps right around the country. So we've got around about 40 sales reps that are based everywhere from Invercargill all the way up to Whangarei. And we have around about 270 people, 200 of them based in Auckland, but the rest are out there right next to our customers.
Nice. So a trip down to Centro Otago, down to Wanaka and Queenstown for you. That's good excuse to get away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's what makes Motatapu so special, isn't it? It's, just an amazing venue. Every time I've done a few races down there before, but every time you turn up, the weather conditions are slightly different. The scenery is amazing, and you guys just make it so easy and laid back. Even though it's amazingly well organised, but you always feel like you can turn up with customers, have a beer, relax after a hard slog, either on the bike or running.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, which event are you lining up? It feels like you're coming down this year, Lawrence. First, actually, before I ask that, how many times and what events have you done before?
So I've done the Miners Trail 3 times and managed to finish. So that was that's an achievement in itself. You know how steep that Miners Trail is.
Yeah, that's
and I tried to do the marathon many years ago and failed. So I turned 50 this year, and I plan on finishing this time.
Good. So marathon this time. Can we ask what happened last time? Because these are good stories to share about with others, that it's not just a given. You actually need to be a little bit organised.
Yeah, I was young and naive, and I had my ITVs went during training, and I thought I could actually turn up on the day and finish, which was not the case. So I got to sit at the 20K mark for about 3 or 4 hours and hand out drinks because I couldn't finish. So not a great memory, but it was a lovely day despite that. But this time I plan on having those drinks at the finish line. Good
on you. You didn't consider just kind of walking, carrying on, just slowly,
did.
Or was it? I couldn't even do that.
It's quite sore.
Oh no, that's so rough, isn't it? Yeah, commandeer someone else's bike, so I'm taking this instead.
Yeah. If it happens this time, I'll definitely be knocking someone off, one of those mountain bikers off, and sneaking home.
Yep. I'm going to UDC Finance sort of, I'll pay for this, that's fine, but I'll do it later.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So how are you feeling about the marathon this time around? How's the training gone?
No, really good. With a bit of age comes maturity, and I've taken the training very seriously, but slow and steady. So no, I'm feeling all right. I did my long run last weekend of 35 Ks and could walk the next day. So that's a real positive. Yeah. So hopefully I'm ready to go.
Good stuff. And one thing with doing this as a business, I'd imagine there'd be a bit of banter in the office. Is there? How does that going for you?
There's a lot of banter. We've got different channels, and South Island, North Island, all sorts of rivalry going on. I think the worst thing is that a lot of the participants from UDC are a little bit older, so seeing these old men in lycra isn't great, and I remind them of that as a runner. And then we've also been wondering who's going to take the defibrillator down to revive some of the UDC people, because I'm not sure if they're all going to make it without some assistance. So. Yeah,
okay, so you're going to be running with your defib in the back just in case to make sure everyone gets here.
You can have it all prepared for them down there, but it's a lot of great banter, and I think we've got 14 people in it this year.
Yep.
Most of those guys and girls have done it before, and I think it shows how iconic the event is. They just keep coming back. There's a queue of people from UDC trying to do the event every year.
Nice. From the office, is there anyone else doing the marathon?
No, I'm the only one this year.
That probably helps you, like in terms of got this.
Yes, we have our head of commercial, Morgan Strong, is quite he's quite a good runner, and I was worried he was going to do it and embarrass me with some crazy time. So I'm quite quietly pleased.
Okay, so you can take the victory back home again, that you're the first one home in the marathon.
Yeah. UDC's best marathon runner this year.
As long as you finish.
I hope.
Yeah, exactly. You have to make it to the finish line now. No, that's awesome. Yes. And so in terms of you guys, you've got a tent at the finish line. You'll be cheering the crew on, cheering everybody on when you get to the finish line. It's a really nice spot hanging out at that Motatapu finish line, isn't it?
It's so much fun. I think that there's music going. You've got the commentators telling us who's coming through. And we've got such a wide array of customers and UDC people there that it feels like someone's arriving every 5 or 10 minutes. You cheer them into the tent, hand them a pie and a beer, and enjoy the afternoon. So it's just so much fun. Our I think we've got nearly 100 customers that are coming through this year. So
cool.
Just a great opportunity for UDC to host people in a really relaxed environment, talk about a really hard day on the mountain, and then just make them feel valued. So it's just such a great part of our annual schedule. We really enjoy it.
Just connecting with others, isn't it? We talked offline before we jumped on, is that when you last did the marathon, the runners started early in the morning, the cyclists started after you, which meant that when you were running, the elite riders that have got the red mist, full gas, they're there to win it, are whizzing past you at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And your job was just to not run in a zigzags, just to run straight so you don't get cleaned up.
It was worse than being on Queen Street on a busy day, wasn't it? It was just crazy. You were dodging bikes everywhere. So so hopefully it's a little bit more relaxed going after the bikes this year. Yeah.
So the bikes start first, and I think it might be an hour or so, at least hour and a half, maybe, that the bikers have a head start. But what I found last year is you actually start to catch a few bikers at the end, and it was actually kind of cool because it was quite social. Those at the back, like some were battling and some were just cruising along with their friends. So you kind of cheered each other on as you went. So I'm going to give you that goal, Lawrence, to see if you can actually pass the cyclist and get to the finish line before one.
I would be amazed if that happens, but we could all live in hope. So,
we never know. I look forward to hearing how that goes. I think you'll go well.
Brilliant. I'm really looking forward to it, Richard. We'll see you in a week's time.
Yeah, good stuff. Cheers, Lawrence. Thanks heaps.
Thank you.
Edward, welcome to the show. How are you getting on today?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Stoked to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Hey, so we're talking Motatapu Marathon. Pretty cool to have you online today. You were second in the marathon last year, miles ahead of me and how I was running, kind of jogging through the course. But you're turning up again this year, is that correct?
Yeah, sure am. Pretty stoked to be lining up again, to be honest. Last year was my first year racing, and I enjoyed the experience so much. It's such a cool course, like a little bit faster than some other trail races for sure, but really cool experience being able to run alongside bikers and through a pretty iconic trail for sure.
Yeah, so what's your background? Have you got a road running background, a trail running background? Have you sort of hiked heaps of hills? What have you done in the past?
A little bit of a mix, to be honest, probably more in the trail space. I started running maybe 5 or so years ago, probably like a lot of people around that lockdown sort of time. And then initially did a road marathon before the trails probably piqued my interest the most. And I mean, being from Christchurch and Canterbury, we're so spoiled with the Craigie Burns and Oxford Forest and Upper Pass and everything on our footstep. And so I sort of just started getting out for missions and enjoyed just the whole being outside part of it. And then in recent years have lent more into the competitive element inside of racing. So big mixture of races in there, but definitely that sort of faster trail stuff is what I'm really enjoying at the moment.
And probably realised you're actually kind of good at this thing too.
Yeah, I guess that's definitely a bonus. I've always been like a tall, relatively skinny person, and it's probably not the best build for most sports, but running was definitely something that clicked with me. And I think also from like the physical side, it worked well, but it really helped me at like a busy time work-wise in my life where running became like a really good outlet. And so it sort of stayed that way for me, where it's like a place I can either think about everything and process everything, or at the same time think about nothing and just have that like, I guess, like mental downtime.
Nice. So you're a person that that doesn't put the audio in, doesn't listen to an audiobook, doesn't listen to music. You're just you and just go running.
About 50-50, I reckon. I go through phases of music phases and things. I think on like the easier, slower runs, I don't mind having a podcast or some music in. But I think there's like definitely a time to focus as well in running, and I kind of like that you can sort of switch out from everything fully.
Yes, yeah, it is good, isn't it? Like to like for those key sessions to really dial in, or when you're off road and in the bush and things like that, just to kind of be there in that space. But also maybe there's a Motatapu podcast you need to tap into as well going forward.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Tell us about. So you were second in the marathon last year. Tell us about first of all what your goal was last year, and then how did the race unfold for you?
Yeah, sure. So last year I was actually lucky enough to win a giveaway on social media for an entry, I think like mid-January. And I'd raced the Kepler previously. I'd sort of just been chilling with my running, and maybe I won an entry probably 6 or 7 weeks out. So I just came into it with no real expectations and had a really big few weeks of training to sort of kick everything back into gear. But I think my main goal last year was just to enjoy the process and not to put too much pressure on it. A nice way to be as well. I think that sort of helps with like the turning up to the start line in a positive mindset, or when the goal is just to enjoy it, it's a lot easier than trying to focus on, A, B, or C outcome.
And especially since it's your first time, you haven't really got any expectations of times, or I want to be here at this point. And expectations can really kill the fun factor in an event, can't they? So to have none of those, you can sort of just go, okay, well, let's go for a run.
100%. And I knew I was feeling fit, so I wanted to give it like a good crack for sure. But so I got to the start line, and when the race went, Benji, who ended up winning the race, took off from the get-go. And I sort of thought about tailing him for a little bit. It must have only been 500 meters or so before I thought this is probably a little bit too hot for the start of the race for me. So hang back. And then I sort of found myself in no man's land right from the get-go. So I ended up running the whole race by myself. I saw a few people behind me, quickly lost sight of Benji, and then couldn't really see the people behind me either, which is a pretty funny place to run a race. But like I said earlier, I guess
you're very much in the wilderness across that area, like especially because a lot of these events that we do, there's always people around, and there's a bit of a vibe that comes with that. But when you're coming through those aid stations, they'll be quite keen to see you, because there's a second marathon runner coming through. Let's give it heaps.
Yep, 100%. I think that it's such a cool part of trail racing. I love it. So you go through the aid stations, and there's always so much like excitement and passion to go through there. And then you get those little snippets of information from them about, he's 5 or 6 minutes ahead, and third place is sort of 8 or 9 minutes back, or those little bits of info is all you're running with. So, it was a cool race for sure. And then towards the end, once we sort of hit that Macetown part, I was running with some mountain bikers for the last wee while. And I thought what was a really cool and unique experience about that is they were giving me heaps of encouragement. They were telling me where people were around me as well. And with the sort of ups and downs, we were just back and forthing with 2 or 3 guys the whole time. So it was a really fun end to the race.
two or three mountain bikers because you're getting through the river crossings faster, but then they're getting past you on the downhill kind of thing, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly that. And so I didn't actually see the guys at the end of the race, but what made the last sort of 10 or so K like a really enjoyable thing where we were egging each other on and having a bit of a chat. And I guess like enjoying those final moments.
Yes. And I wasn't anywhere near where you were, but I still found that from about halfway through when you sort of start finding the first mountain biker, it starts to become quite fun, especially probably for you because you're really running in no man's land. But one of the fun things is trying to see up the road and I'm catching that person. And if they're on the mountain bike, it doesn't matter. It's probably even more fun catching someone on bike.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's really nice about the race where you can pick like those people that you're sort of trying to target and keep you motivated even when you've got no other runners around you. But like I said before, same with the aid stations, the amount of like energy and fizz that you got going through there was definitely enough to keep me going.
Which was your favourite aid station? I think there's a bit of competition between them. There's actually 4 aid stations, isn't it? The final one's sort of a bit of a maybe not type number. But what was your favourite?
I think mine was. I'd have to go back and check what the name of it was, but it must have been about in the middle, and that's where there was a bit of a crew there. They gave me like an update of how far before me Benji was. And I think there weren't many mountain bikers around there, so I was really the only person. I think they hadn't seen anyone in a while, so they were excited to see me, and I was pretty excited to see them. A good chance to refill up on some water and snacks and things.
The first aid station, they dress up with all sorts of different things. I think they were Where's Wally,
yeah.
I think, weren't they? And then the second aid station, they were by the river there, and they were like, there was signs and like high vis and there's sharks down this way or something like that. The third aid station sort of like, we're finally kind of at the top of the hill. It's definitely the most remote one, and then the final one, so just down the river, getting closer to home.
Yeah, 100%. So nicely spread out. I think it was a third aid station where I sort of knew that I was probably like comfortable in second, and so it was time to just like enjoy it and not feel too panicked around, how I was going placing wise.
Okay. That was my next question, actually. Did you like, was third far behind? Did you ever Benji up the front? Did you ever sort of see him or have think he might be coming back to you at all?
No, I think Benji was running strong for sure. I think at that aid station, I think they said he was sort of 6 or so minutes ahead, which maybe over a longer trail race is a doable thing, but on those like faster ones, 6 minutes is a pretty solid lead. And with the person behind me, I knew that I was running really strong. And so I thought, kudos if they are catching up, because I felt like I was running at a pretty solid pace. So, I thought it was in a pretty comfortable spot.
Nice work. How do you approach those river crossings? We talked about those, like you've got some mountain bikers around you sort of that are probably pushing their bike and things. How do you approach them? Do you just bash straight in them? Do you sort of try and pick your line a little bit? Because there are lines that are shallower as you go across them. How do you approach that as a runner at the end of your marathon?
At the end of the marathon, it's tough because your legs are like a little bit more fatigued, and that extra resistance can definitely like bring on cramp and things. I think coming down through Macetown, you sort of see the river crossings before you get to them. I was looking at where the cyclists were going to know where the shallowest was, but I was sort of just powering through them. I wasn't going to slow down too much. To be fair, in a year where the rivers are high, you might have to be a little bit more strategic or careful about it, but I did just power through. They did give me cramp each time I went through, though, because of the extra resistance. I was sort of dealing with calf cramp and hamstring cramp and things. So this year, I think I'll be bringing some extra salt caps or some more electrolytes to power before those.
It's also just because you move differently, aren't you? Because you're so in the groove of your running gait that then you sort of have to lift your feet up differently. And even like the down and the little up out of the river can be quite challenging as well. Do you like, hey, I've got cramp right now. Do you just go, okay, well, I'm just going to run this off, or do you try and stretch it out, or how do you cope with that? Because as a runner, you've, I'm sure, had plenty of experience.
Yeah, I often cramp. I feel like it's a bit of a dagger for me. Like cramp is something that I get in probably most races, but at the same time, because I know that I expect it. So I definitely take a lot of salt caps. I think it's a sign to me that I'm not fueling probably quite enough. And so I take salt caps, we'll be drinking like a heap of water and a gel. But I think just keeping moving is good for me. Often if I stop at an aid station or try to stretch, it can trigger other spots as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think it comes in waves, doesn't it? And it'll hit you, and it'll be uncomfortable. And then you've just got, like, if you just run it out, it might come again, but it will slowly disappear and dissipate. And just focusing on other muscles and how you're moving kind of help to decrease a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of training tips? Like, what are you doing prior to Motatapu? What are some key runs or key things that you'll look to try and do that maybe others can learn from?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I spend a lot of my time running in the Port Hills, and I think that that's like a really great comparison to a lot of the Motatapu undulation. I think the marathon has just over 1,000 meters of climbing, which is definitely substantial, but nothing too crazy. No, like seriously long climbs or anything, just a lot of up and down. So I think, like, I guess advice or things that I think about in my training is having enough oomph for my legs that in that Macetown descent with a few sort of sharp ups and downs, I want to be coming into that knowing that I can handle those okay, and I'm not going to be sort of dead at the end. So for me, it will be a lot of runs where I'm potentially tackling a big climb first and then some undulation towards the end, or even sort of longer runs where I've got some climbing or some efforts towards the end of them. That's about it. The other element that I'm thinking about this year, last year I was really lucky with the weather, it being overcast, but I can imagine it can be very hot in that valley on the right day. I was just down in Queenstown, Arrowtown over Christmas and New Year's, and we're doing quite a few runs up Macetown, and there were some absolute scorchers down there. So I think this year I'll just be a little bit more careful about like the heat, or maybe do a few runs in warm weather so I know how my body's going to react under that.
Yeah, and how you're going to do your hydration to cope with that. And one other thing, like I guess any endurance event, it's we do our training, but ultimately on the day it's about two things. It's about nutrition and how you pace yourself, isn't it? So, and in the heat, maybe we need to pace yourself a little bit more than what we would if it's cooler. But how do you pace yourself off the start line? Do you look at a heart rate? Do you purely go by feel? Do you just go by vibe, or do you sort of comfortable to race a little bit as well?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that looking after yourself is definitely something I really try to think about in my races. I know that when you're in a good flow or you're running downhill and you're meant to take a gel, but you don't want to like disrupt anything, I think that probably was the old me, whereas now I will make sure that I'm hitting all the nutrition that I'm planning to, no matter what the situation, or not making excuses to not drink enough or eat enough, because looking after yourself is like definitely the foundation of being able to finish well or not be completely cooked halfway through. But I guess in terms of pacing myself, heart rate's a funny one for me. I think often with the pre-race nerves or tapering or any sort of factors, even like an early start and like an extra coffee in the morning or something can play like tricks. And I think the heart rate can often play mind games with me. So I should usually use just like perceived effort. Definitely if my heart rate's spiky out of nowhere, I'll like take that into consideration. But I think perceived effort, like I know for a race like the Motatapu, it's going to be hard from the get-go for sure. Yeah. There's not like enough time for me to like start really chill when he's into it, but it should be comfortably hard. Nothing that the first 5 or 10 Ks is really throwing me off or making me feel worried for what's to come. I want to like build into that, and like I said before, knowing that last climb or those descent into Macetown with a few ups and backs, I want to know that I can hit that really strong.
Nice. And what about a warm-up? Do you do a warm-up? It's pretty tough because you get off the bus, line for the PaulA Rule queues, and then it's kind of a briefing and you're off. Like how did you do? Yeah, or is it just like I'm just doing what I have to do, get myself ready and go?
Yeah, last year was actually quite a quick turnaround between the bus, the loo, and getting to the start line for sure. I think I don't know. I think like a warm-up I'm sure has a lot of merit, but I'm often just a few leg swings, stretch my quads, just like get things moving a little bit and crack into it. I'm sure like a warm-up has a lot of merit, and maybe if I had a little bit more time I would run a few laps, but at the same time it's like a big day out there. You don't want to be burning off too much energy before getting stuck into it.
That is the thing, is that like I've got a limited amount of energy. I know I'm going to use it all up, so why am I going to use it here by doing running? Actually, I've been asked by Gemma to help with a bit of a warm-up, so I'm going to try and lead a bit of a warm-up on the start line for the marathon this year. So feel free to ignore me or take part in some of it, but it's just going to be about that, like a little bit of muscle activation, and just sort of turn things on and just remind yourself that you're not sitting on a bus anymore and you're about to go do some running.
Yeah, I think that's 100% the way to tackle it. It's just like those activations, keeping your legs moving and just get everything feeling warm and ready to go. Yep.
So that's awesome. What's the goal for this year? What are we looking for? Number one spot? What's the plan of attack? How are you leading into this year's race?
Yeah, I mean, number one spot would be epic and definitely have thought about, but it honestly depends who turns up on the day. So I'll probably go into it, focus more on a time goal, just looking to PB and maybe get close to that 3-hour mark. But a few months to go until the Motatapu, I'll see how my training goes. And I think the same, I don't want to put too much pressure on a placing or an outcome. I'll think it'll just be me versus me or me racing the clock there more than anything. And like we talked about at the start, it helps depressurize it and make me enjoy the experience. It's such a cool course and a cool vibe there that I don't want to distract myself from the enjoyment factor.
Yeah, on that, trying to do a little bit better than last year, is a part of the course that you want to try and do better, or an element of your event that you want to try and improve on to help that time at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think overall I had a really solid race last year, really consistent. But I remember finishing really strong and having a lot in the tank for that last bit. So I'm thinking maybe send it a little bit more aggressively from the start. I'm training towards a bit of a longer race between now and the Motatapu. So hopefully I'll back my endurance on the day and start a little bit more aggressively. But that's always a roll of the dice. Yeah, wait to see how hot it is and how I feel at the start line.
Yeah. And then can I hold it together, or am I going to blow it a bit?
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
One last question, actually, and this is very specific to you and as you as a runner. But there's lots of chat around different shoes and running shoes, and there's a real evolution of running shoes, especially across the board, but on the trails as well. Do you have some super fast race shoes that you run in, or do you go for something more stable? And what do you do there? Do you have a carbon plate in them? What do your shoes look like?
Yeah, I have been racing in a pair of shoes that are designed for racing, and I think there's definitely merit in that. But I think there's sort of it's not as simple as the one shoe fits everyone. I definitely have a lot more sturdy, grunty grip or comfortable shoes that I do the vast majority of my running in, and then I guess some key sessions will do the plated faster shoes. I've got a pair of the Asics Metafujis coming that I'll hopefully race in for the Motatapu, and so really excited to try them and see if they've got the spark. I've heard pretty good things about them.
Yes, it's it's a stability factor, isn't it? Can you cope in them for that long? Is the key challenge. Yeah,
100%. So I think lots of strength work or practice in that to make sure, because I know on that course there's a bit of a variety of terrain where there's grassy 4-wheel drive tracks or some rocks or a few river crosses like we talked about. So making sure you've got the ankle strength or they're not going to hinder more than help is definitely something to think about.
Yeah, that's awesome, Edward. Hey, excited to talk to you. You've got me fizzed up for the Motatapu Marathon, that's for sure. And all the best with your training in the next little bit, and look forward to seeing you as we get off the bus and ripping it up across the Motatapu course and having some fun doing it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks heaps, Richard. Really appreciate the chat.
Cool. Well done. Cheers, Edward.
Cheers.